Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, it's a little different video. You see what I'm saying? This is the channel called Evil Intentions. I watch his content. You know what I mean? Most of them is like back in the '90s, sometimes the '80s and stuff like that. But this isn't no regular type of content. You know what I mean? It talks about certain things, and these are based off of true stories and stuff like that. So I ain't gonna say too much. We're just gonna watch the video. But I will say though, um, like if you're not into, like, I don't want to say graphic, but if you're not into, like, you know what I mean, man, listen, we're just gonna get into it. If you don't like it, y'all more than likely gonna click off.
Today on Evil Intentions, the story of Monica Beale. Monica Beale was a 26-year-old dancer from Switzerland. She was raised in the city of St. Gallen, a city with a population of only about 70 to 80,000 people when she was being raised in the 60s. This particular city, well known for having the most beautiful medieval castles in the world, known for its ski resorts, the Abbey Library of St. Gall, which houses the oldest collection of literature in Switzerland, and the Natural History Museum of St. Gallen, just to name a few. Monica had plans of coming to the big city and chasing her dreams of being a dancer. She received a certificate for teaching and choreography from the Juice Leader School of Dance at Darrington Hall in Devon. She was described as an energetic spirit who always wanted to push her life and her art to the limits. And in 1985, after receiving a scholarship from the Swiss government, Beale would make her way to New York City. While in New York City, Monica would put her scholarship to good use and attended the Martha Graham School of Contemporary Dance. She attended 2 to 3 classes a day. She enrolled in school in 1985, but left back to Switzerland in 1987 to tend to her ailing mother and to do a tour of her own dance routines. She toured in 8 different cities, places like Zurich, Lucerne, and Basel. She was deeply talented, according to Allison Sherman, a spokeswoman for the Martha Graham School. To make a living, Monica would start dancing at go-go bars on Times Square, back when sex shops and sex workers on the street was routine. Among the places she danced was Billy's Topless, located on 24th Street in New York City's Chelsea neighborhood, a small location that resembled more of a bar rather than a strip club. Billy's only contained a small bar and a little over 20 chairs that would surround the stage. A modest establishment, but enough for Monica to keep financially stable. She was very close to her family and spent a lot of time talking about them. Her family and the art of dance were the 2 things that Monica truly couldn't live without. She was focused and nothing could get in her way. In the summer of 1989.
All right, so I mean, from the intro, you know what I mean, she obviously put in that work. She put in that work to be able to accomplish what she accomplished as far as in the dancing scene go, and then leave Switzerland to come all the way to New York City to pursue her dance career at, I'm assuming, I never heard of that what is it called, Martha Contemporary School of Dance or something like that. Never heard of it, so I'm assuming that's kind of up there with maybe Juilliard or something like that. I'm not sure, but what get me is you're doing like ballet type dance of all places to work at. I know if you like the dance and stuff like that, why would you want to go to like some like go-go bar? Why would you want to dance with some go-go bar? Like, you know what I mean? Just off of that alone, you know what I mean? You man, you run into creeps in those type of places. You see what I'm saying?
Monica would find herself down in the Lower East Side, a place she frequented often where she would meet with friends and pass by to purchase marijuana. She also lived there. At the time, she was living by herself at 171 Avenue B after leaving her old apartment at 93 Orchard Street.
She was chill.
This is where she met Daniel Rakowitz, a traveling hippie, marijuana enthusiast, and part-time drug dealer from Edna, Texas, also the son of a Texas deputy sheriff. Rakowitz was described.
I ain't even gonna hold you. Like when I see him, the first person that came to my mind was Charles Manson. You know what I mean? When they said the son, I was like, yo, I know they ain't about to say the son of Charles Manson. Yeah, I mean,
As a troubled soul who had his first brush with grief at an early age, witnessing his mother suffer a fatal
he
heart
looked
attack
like
in
a
a hotel
dirtbag,
room.
man. I ain't even gonna
His
hold
father
you.
would later marry Rakowitz's aunt, the sister of his deceased wife. But this too would come to an end. Over the years, loved ones of Daniel would mention his darker moments as a teenager, becoming addicted to drugs. He would make his way from Texas to Missouri, and finally to New York City's Lower East Side. There, he earned the nickname Chicken Man. People of the area
Chicken,
recall
man.
Rakowitz having a pet rooster and sometimes walking through the park with a dead chicken wrapped around his neck.
Yeah, that
Rakowitz
dude,
earned his money as a dishwasher and worked odd jobs while he couch surfed over the years,
dude,
trying to
definitely a
find
hippie.
stability. He finally found his footing and began staying at 700 East 9th Street, just a few blocks away from the park. On the front door to the apartment was written, "Welcome to Charlie Gein's Spawn Ranch East," a combination of the names Ed Gein and Charles Manson. When the two met, they shared a joint and discussed living in the city.
So if y'all don't know who those people are, you know what I mean? Those were two. Those were serial killers. You see what I'm saying? Just in case y'all don't know who they is. Ed Gein, if I'm not mistaken, is the person that they got the inspiration of Leatherface from. You know what I mean? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like not necessarily the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Ed Gein. I think he would skin the people he killed, and he would wear their skin. Like he would make a mask out of their skin, and he would wear it. And everybody is familiar with Charles Manson. Yeah, I mean he's an occult leader. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny though, because I mentioned his name earlier in the video, so it's kind of funny. But so that like him being a fan of them two people, that's already a red flag. I mean, I don't know if she knew it, but I mean that right there should let you know that something ain't clicking up here. Like, nah, I'm good on that. I won't be friends with nobody like that, man. I'm sorry.
Monica was looking for a bigger place when Daniel suggested that she move into the apartment with him and the others that were also residing there. She could afford it, and it gave her the chance to have a better space. She accepted, and the two celebrated over a few more joints. She also paid off Daniel's back rent so that he was all caught up and he wouldn't get thrown out.
What?
Daniel
Yeah, she
had
was a
fears
real
of
one.
becoming homeless again and dreaded the idea. When he had chances to earn income, he would visit a slaughterhouse and buy chickens, sometimes 20 at a time, slaughter them, and cook them up in a soup. Then he would take that soup or whatever he cooked and pass it out to the homeless men, women, and children at Tompkins Square Park. If he couldn't earn the money, he would go to a nearby supermarket and ask for change, and use that to buy ingredients for food. He knew what it was like to be homeless, and although it wasn't a place to rest their head, the inhabitants of Tent City would appreciate his kind gestures. Tent City was what they named Tompkins Square Park. The first week of August 1989, Monica's belongings showed up to the apartment and the move was underway. According to a friend who also lived at the residence, a woman by the name of Sylvia, Daniel prepared for Monica's arrival in a way she hadn't seen before. He had cleaned up the home in tip-top shape so that her arrival was as comfortable as possible. And on one occasion, Sylvia came home and found herself knocking
Never mind. I was gonna say something, but never mind.
to get in when Daniel took a while to answer. When he did, he was adjusting his zipper and pants and said that he was busy. He would go on to introduce Sylvia to Monica and explain that she would be moving in and taking over the lease. The next day, Sylvia and Monica had a conversation, and Sylvia decided to ask Monica about her and Daniel's relationship, since everything was moving so fast, and Daniel was never known to have women in the home. I asked her the next day because I thought Daniel was playing a joke. I said, "Daniel told me he went with you." Monica's reply, "He did." A short, serious response. The two had a brief sexual relationship that lasted just a few weeks. During that time, Sylvia would tell Daniel that Monica's affection for him was only as real as her desire to grab the apartment from under him, now that the rental was under her name. Daniel, in denial that he was being used, responded defensively, "No, but she cares about me, and she wants to live with me, and she wants to be my roommate." Sylvia's response, "Daniel, she wants the apartment, and she's gonna take the apartment right from underneath you. She's gonna have the lease in her name, and once it's in her name, she's gonna throw you out. And I ain't gonna be here anymore, and there's nothing I can say when the lease is changed over." So if she throws you out, you're out, and you're
Man, listen, I don't know. Homegirl sound like she was a little jealous because she's already asking, you know what I mean, what type of relationship do y'all got between, you know what I mean, what type of relationship y'all got and stuff like that. And then you find out that y'all, you know what I mean, y'all was sitting here getting it in, doing an adult thing. You see what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden she want to come out with this, you know what I mean, try to get into homeboy's head. Yeah, I mean, like, you don't even know homegirl. You don't even know her to be even saying stuff like that. How do you know what she was trying to do? How do you know what her plan was? Yeah, I mean, why did I don't know.
homeless again. Daniel responded that he loved Monica. Nothing could change his mind. While Daniel was falling in love, Monica didn't feel the same for Daniel. She broke off the sexual part of their relationship almost immediately and began inviting other men to the apartment. On one occasion, she invited a Jamaican man to spend the night with her. Daniel would later tell Sylvia she had a black man in there. She would go on to say that he looked hurt and seemed to be very upset at this.
And he was busting that back
Daniel
out.
had
That's
a deep
why.
and sometimes well-hidden distaste for anyone who wasn't white, and also wasn't fond of the gay community. So while he may be pictured with people from all walks of life, he didn't exactly see them as equals. His hatred ran deep. Rakowitz would often begin ranting and talking about how he was God. He even started what was believed to be his own religion/cult, which he coined the Church of 966. He would talk about animal sacrifice, and it was believed that sometime before, Rakowitz had even decapitated a dog that he owned. He would talk about being placed in psychiatric wards at a young age and being forced to take Ritalin from the ages 9 to 11. According to him, he was...
I see. That's what I'm saying. Like that's some weirdo madness right there. You see what I'm saying? That's because he looked up to and he was a fan of that Charles Manson dude. You see what I'm saying? Starting a whole occult and stuff like that. My man was sitting here starting his own occult 966, which I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't gonna get too much into it, but I mean the 966 is just another way of saying, you know what I mean, the 666 stuff. I know you probably like, yo, this dude is bugging and that, but I mean I got a little bit of knowledge into that type of stuff, but I'm not gonna get too far into it. But that's basically, you know what I mean, you can interchange that. So basically, my man was evil. I mean, hence he was evil, man. So he got, look at his eyes. Look at his eyes. That's straight hatred. Hatred. You could tell like there's something's missing upstairs. You see what I'm saying? Like look at those eyes. Those are not regular people's eyes. Those eyes are straight evil and hatred. Straight up. Straight up. I mean, that's how I see it. I mean, look at him.
bullied by other kids, being beaten and spat on. If he defended himself, he would get beat worse by his father. As the days went on and Rakowitz, who Monica barely knew, became more and more strange, her friends urged her to get him out of the home, since he was always saying something that they just couldn't understand. His constant rants about the government and being God didn't sit well with others, and having Church of 966 written on the walls in chicken's blood definitely didn't help. Daniel pleaded and begged in every single way that he could to get back into Monica's good graces. He tried changing her mind, but her mind was already made up. Daniel needed to go. He began to understand the severity of his living situation, and his worst fears began to creep back into his head. He would be homeless again, and all his good deeds would be forgotten. His nights of watching television hours on end, a habit he'd picked up since finally settling in a home, were close to coming to an end. I'm gonna kill her. No, I love her. I'm not gonna kill her. Those are the alarming words that exited Daniel's mouth when it became clear that he would find himself on the street again. The others who lived in the apartment at the time didn't take Daniel's plan serious. He said so much in the past that this just seemed like another crazy thing he said. On August 12th of 1989, Sylvia would flat out tell Monica what Daniel had been saying. When learning about Daniel's violent plan for her, she would laugh, walk up to Daniel in front of Sylvia, and simply say, "I'll kill you first." About a week later, Rakowitz had been walking Sylvia to a nearby PATH train and explained that he couldn't take Monica anymore. He was going to kill her the next day, and he wanted Sylvia to come back and help him dispose of the body. Sylvia, of course, wanted no parts of this and told him that he was crazy for even thinking that she would assist. She paid it no mind and she went about her business, not returning to the city until that Saturday. When she returned, she stared up at the window of Monica's apartment and saw that the lights were out. This was unusual since there was normally someone home. She could feel that something was terribly wrong. Despite her gut feelings, she pushed them aside and went upstairs anyway. As she walked up to the stairs, she could hear that Daniel's TV was powered on with the volume at full blast. She opened the door and could see Daniel's TV on the kitchen counter, the area dimly lit by the television. She checked her old room to make sure that her old belongings were in good shape, but noticed that Monica's door was closed. She knocked, but there was no answer. When she returned to the kitchen, this time entering, not just seeing it from a distance, she noticed a big pot on the stove, and inside the pot was the head of Monica Beale.
Yo!
The head was burnt and the eyes were shut. Shocked by the finding, Sylvia made her...
Yo. That's gotta be some... That's gotta be some traumatizing shit, man. Like, for real, for real. You imagine going up... Like... man, like you imagine going into an apartment and then finding that, you know what I mean? Like they didn't even say if, but they said it was boiled, man. That place had to stink. Nobody smelt that. You know what I mean? I don't think that's gonna smell like some regular food. Like for real, for real. Like, and man, that's some wild shit, man. Some weirdos, some sick people out here, bro.
No way to the bathroom. She stood right outside of it and looked in. What she saw turned her stomach and the reality finally set in. Rakowitz had really done it. She saw Monica's ribcage lying in the bathtub, with all the skin and flesh torn from the bone. Surrounding the upper torso were Monica's guts submerged in her own blood.
Wow.
Sylvia immediately left the apartment and ran to a nearby phone booth on Avenue A.
That apartment smelled like
she
death.
Called Daniel's beeper. When he returned the call, she would ask, "Daniel, you did it?" His response, "You saw it, Sylvia? I'm sorry you had to see it, but I had to do it." The two met at Tompkins Square Park, where he continued to apologize for what she had seen and further explain what had happened. Daniel went on to explain.
See what I'm saying, man? Look at that face. That is not a regular person. Like, I mean, if you see somebody like this on the street, you see what I'm saying? Like, is that somebody you would sit here, like, if they came up to you and talk to you and they look like that, mine is the knife, but that's what they face look like. You gonna sit here and want to say something to them, have a conversation? Man, hell no. Hell no. You can clearly see that there's something wrong. Look at my man's pupils, wide as hell. He was obviously high in this picture. You know what I mean? Man, you gotta be careful who you dealing with, for real. Careful who you dealing with. Anybody we walk by any day, any time of the day, every day, we be walking around people like this, and we don't even know. And we don't even know at any given time, man. You know what I mean? Our neighbor could be like him. You see what I'm saying? Your boss can be like him. You know what I mean? You just, man, being around people, man, you just never know. Never know, man.
Explained that he wasn't alone when he committed the murder. He was with a friend from a satanic church in the Brooklyn section of New York. Monica had told Rakowitz that he had to leave the apartment by the next day. If he refused to leave,
I knew
her
that
friend with a pit bull would be
like
arriving to help her force him out. She went back to her room and Daniel's friend would ask,
devil shit.
"What? You haven't killed her yet?" Monica came back out and began to yell at his friend, since she wasn't fond of Daniel or the company he kept. As she walked away, turning her back to walk toward her bedroom, Daniel grabbed an extension cord and wrapped it around Monica's neck, violently pulling her toward him, and then grabbing her by the throat with his bare hands. He began to strangle the 26-year-old dancer until her body no longer moved. Monica tried her best to fight Daniel off, scratching him up and down his arms. After choking Monica to death, he stomped on her head about 10 times and then stabbed her more than 30 times. He would go on to cut off her head, cut off her arms and legs, and left her remains in the blood-soaked tub while he figured out what to do next.
That's
Rakowitz
hatred.
then used a solid steel pole to break her bones, followed by a 13-inch carving knife to cut up her body into small pieces. He then began flushing her remains down the toilet and saved some in the fridge. He would then consume parts of her body over the next 10 days. After that, Monica's remains began to badly decompose in the late summer heat. This prompted Daniel to begin removing the rest of the skin and flesh from the body. He then began bleaching her bones and skull to rid it of any lingering smells. As if those details aren't horrific enough, rumors began to circulate that Daniel had boiled Monica's head and flesh, made her remains into a soup that he would then pass out to the homeless people in Tompkins Square Park. He had done this many times before.
Yo, that's why you don't accept food from nobody. Nobody. You see what I'm saying? You don't accept food from nobody because you don't know what the hell it is. You see what I'm saying? There's probably people out here still doing it. You just don't know. You just don't know. Yo, listen, I lived in Ohio one time, and there was a guy. I got two stories. When I lived in Ohio, there was the guy that was doing that to prostitutes. And there was a guy in the town that I live in right now that did the same thing. Well, the guy that's in this town that I'm in right now, he didn't feed him to the public. But the dude in Ohio, he fed him to the public. They had cookouts and he was feeding the neighborhood, his neighbors. I mean, you don't accept no food from nobody, man. These people are sick. These people are weird. And then it's like he said the bodies was badly decomposing. Nobody in that building, was it a building where it was just them? Like nobody smelled that? Like, yo, you got a full-size adult body. You see what I'm saying? That's a lot of meat. You see what I'm saying? That's a lot of pungent, decomposing smell. Like, you know it gotta be bad. You know it gotta stink, and it's gonna linger. That's like you driving down a highway, you seen a deer get hit by a car, or you seen a deer carcass on the side. You see what I'm saying? But it's been sitting on the side for however long enough for it to decompose, and you still driving like, yo, you got a quarter mile, half a mile, you still smell that deer, and all you did was drive by it. Because it's that damn funky. You mean to tell me nobody smelled that in the apartment building and called the boys? Like, yo, we got some stench up in here and it don't smell right. It smells like something's dead. Something's decomposing. You see what I'm saying? Some people, like, let's not cap. Some people, you know what I mean, they do have a mice problem and stuff like that in they crib. Stop capping, y'all. Y'all know damn well. You see what I'm saying? No shame on the game though, whatever. But the point of me saying is y'all ever had a mouse or a rat get stuck in your wall and die and smelled that? You know what I mean? When it decomposed. You see what I'm saying? Imagine that, but with a human-sized body. Nobody smelled that? Come on now.
Only this time, anyone in Tompkins Square Park who had accepted Daniel's kind gesture could now consider themselves cannibals. He told Sylvia, who at this time hadn't said anything out of pure fear, that he would be cleaning up the scene so that she could return to the home one day for a visit. She dropped by and Monica's skull was still in the apartment, this time resembling that of an anatomical skull used in classrooms.
That shit was
Whenever
down
he
to
would
the
recall
bone.
Monica and get angry, he would spit on Monica's skull and say, "Well, hey, bitch, at least you always have a home. She looks more beautiful now than she ever did."
In other words, he had
After
no
cleaning the apartment
remorse.
for hours and leaving it free of any
No
evidence,
remorse.
Rakowitz then took a bucket containing Monica's skull, bones, and kitty litter to absorb any lingering smell. The bucket was then transported to the baggage check facility at the Port Authority bus terminal. He placed it in a storage locker where nobody could find it. It would be a month before authorities began to pursue any leads in Monica's disappearance. This was due to her not appearing for classes and not returning any calls from back home. This was very unusual for Monica. On top of this, Daniel had began to talk about Monica's brutal murder and dismemberment to anybody who would listen. Information quickly spread, and it became apparent that this was no longer some Lower East Side urban legend. Even the claims that were believed to be exaggerated like the claims of Monica's remains being turned into a soup and given to the homeless for dinner, were confirmed. They were confirmed when a man who lived in Tompkins Square Park testified that when eating the soup, he found a knuckle floating among the vegetables and potatoes. Rakowitz also claimed to have tasted her brains and thinking it tasted, quote-unquote, pretty good.
That's
He told
nasty,
numerous people
bro.
he had eaten Monica's remains more than once, despite recanting his claims later on. Rakowitz had told everyone and anyone about the murder before and after he committed it. As shocking and sadistic as the bloody scene was, there was no question. Rakowitz had officially gone off the deep end. On Monday, September 18th, detectives visited the home on 9th Street and found Sylvia there.
That's crazy.
They told her they knew what happened from a neighbor and from another member of the household, a man by the name of Sean. This, of course, was a lie. The cops knew nothing and used this tactic as a way to draw information from Sylvia, who told them everything they wanted to know. After the arrest, Daniel was brought into custody where he confessed to the brutal execution and dismemberment of Monica Beale. On February of 1991, Daniel Rakowitz was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
What?
He was then moved to a state hospital for the criminally insane, where he still resides till this day. That friend he had mentioned earlier on, a man by the name of Randy Charles Easterday, was nabbed in February of 1992 for taking part in the murder, but was released shortly after since the district attorney didn't have enough evidence to hold him. Rest in peace, Monica Beale.
Yo, that's some crazy shit. That's some crazy shit. Yo, man, listen, man, you gotta be careful who you are dealing with and being around, man. We are around people like this and do not know it. And for the people that got kids, man, you gotta be careful, man. I wouldn't bring, man, shit. You know what I mean? Imagine bringing one of these type of people around your family, man, and not even know what they capable of. Man, listen, bro. And they found not guilty for reason and insanity. Yeah, he went into a what's the name, but that's because it happened in New York. If this was in any other state, like the southern states, he would have been put to death. He would have been put to death. And quite honestly, I mean, I ain't saying New York State need to bring back the death penalty, but on shit like that, man, you gotta go, bro. Like for real, for real. You know what I mean? Because that was too much. That was a passion of crime mixed with like hatred type shit. You see what I'm saying? Because, yo, do you know how much work it will take to dismember a body? And then they said that the rib cage was open. Like, it was pretty much, the skin was basically taken off. You see what I'm saying? And then you sat here and cooked it, and you're just like, man, yeah, you definitely, I can see why they put him in the nut house, because, yo, you definitely you're not human. To do that to somebody, you are not human. For real, for real. Yo, that's some crazy madness, man. That's some crazy shit. Yeah, I mean, rest in peace to Monica Beale. You see what I mean? For real, for real. Condolences to her family. I know this is from a long time ago, but still, man, to hear, imagine being a family member hearing this happen to your family member. Like, you know what I mean? Imagine like this is your daughter or something like that. You know what I mean? You hearing this shit all the way in a whole nother country when you think your daughter's living good and doing okay, pursuing her dance career, and you hear this. You get a phone call from the American embassy or something like that, and this is what you hear. Devastated, man. Anyway, yo, thanks for tuning into this video. That shit got my head twisted. I ain't even gonna hold you, son. I ain't even gonna hold you. I wasn't ready for this my damn self, yo. I keep it a buck with y'all. But anyway, man, thanks for tuning into this video, man. I would say hit the thumbs up, but I don't even know due to the circumstances. I don't even know if I'm yo, just help me get in the algorithm, man. All right, yo. Y'all stay chill. Deuces.